I'm okay with this. Be good, Morty. Be better than me. Oh, the other caller! I'm not okay with this! I am not okay with this!
What's good, people? Agent Juice reporting for duty. Well, I have finally caught up with Rick and Morty. It's a show that I am on the razor's edge on as far as my overall opinion on it. And I would like to kind of extrapolate what I'm talking about because it's I have mixed feelings about the show overall. So, that being said, let's go ahead and buckle into our favorite little saucer-shaped flying car thingy. Let us use our portal guns to smash the like button for the YouTube algorithm in all dimensions. And let us unpack this wild ride known as Rick and Morty. So first things first, of course, let's go ahead and talk about the Speedpaint. So I'm probably not going to be too spoilery in this review because this is more of kind of like my thoughts on Rick and Morty as a whole, as opposed to an analysis of this specific season. But I'll put up spoilers anyway, because in the end of season 4, the family essentially abandons Rick because Rick has kind of screwed up for the last time. And so I was kind of thinking about it, and we all know at the end of season 2, for example, Rick turned himself into the Popo, to the big government, and they were playing the original Nine Inch Nails version of Hurt. And so I was thinking about the Johnny Cash cover, which I personally believe is the far superior version. And I was thinking, like, oh, it'd be interesting to draw Rick kind of as Johnny Cash, one of the more, like, dramatic shots in the music video that Johnny Cash does in his Hurt music video. So it's kind of an homage to something that essentially already happened in the series anyway. Do I hate Rick and Morty? No, I don't. I have mixed feelings, but I don't hate it. No. Actually, I overall enjoy it. However, I find that the series suffers a major flaw. And the major flaw comes from some of the characterizations. For those of you who watch this channel, you know that my thing, my monument, the thing that I bow down to, is characters and how well characters are constructed. And I don't feel like Rick and Morty does its particular characters I'm about to mention in the video the proper justice that they deserve. Before I can really dissect that, I do want to kind of lead into what I'm trying to get at. Now, Rick and Morty is one of the few shows where their plots and storylines, the things that I usually refer to as second fiddle to characterizations, are actually really cool and really creative. One thing I truly admire about Rick and Morty is Dan Harmon and Justin Roiland's ability to create these wacky, outlandish plot lines that seem like, herder, lol, so random, but end up being very creative and very complicated. And I believe that I need to, I feel almost obligated to kind of take the time to mention that and congratulate them for it, because it's really cool. Some of the things they come up with, like some of the inventions Rick comes up with, the ability to play with dimensions, because all too often when people kind of get bound up in the world building of their creations, something that I've had trouble with myself in the past, they spend too much time trying to make wacky, crazy details, and it ends up kind of drowning out the point of the story. And I will say that Justin Roiland and Dan Harmon do a really good job at taking really wacky ideas, but still making them fit into their narrative. And I think that should be applauded. So that being said, let me actually talk about characterizations. The two characters I have the biggest problem with, which is why I have mixed feelings about Rick and Morty, is Rick himself and Jerry. And I have problems with them for two distinct reasons, and they're kind of the opposite side of the same coin. And that coin, for lack of better terms, is flanderization. Well, maybe not flanderization. That may not be the best word to describe it. I don't think I have a word to describe it, so I might just have to dissect it. Let's first talk about Rick. I'm not going to apologize for me saying the M word, like I did with Kipo back in my Kipo in the Age of Wonder Beasts video. But the M word I'm about to call Rick is a Mary Sue. Rick, unfortunately, is absolutely hands down a Mary Sue, in my opinion. Rick is too in control of a lot of his situations. I feel sometimes the plot caters too much to him to prop him up as essentially a god who can do no wrong, who can predict every move. It's kind of like the Robert Downey Jr. Sherlock Holmes movies, when he was able to like literally predict the future in all of his fights and everything, and it went beyond just genius. It ended up being like precognition, you know, something that you'd expect from a psychic character like Professor X or something. And that really grated on me, because when a character is too in control of the situation, they become boring. You'll notice whenever I talk about my favorite characters and the characters that mean the most to me, I always say they're the characters who go through the most turmoil on screen, and Rick just does not go through turmoil. Now, you will probably say, now hold on, Rick does go through turmoil. You know, he what about the times where he's very depressed, or like he messes up and he, you know, is down on himself, and it's very clear he's an alcoholic, he has a lot of regrets and everything, and yeah, I will see that, you're right. However, the way they write him suffering, even in those moments, still make him look too noble. And what do I mean by that? The best way I guess I can describe what I'm trying to articulate is, you know when a character cries, but they like do the sexy cry? Like, you know, they're sad, but, you know, they're so pristine, their hair is perfect, and a single tear rolls down their eye as they weep for something truly mournful and grand. And then you have like the ugly cry, when they're blubbering and there's snot rolling down their nose, and it looks very unflattering. When Rick suffers, it's like he's doing the sexy cry, because he's the Mary Sue. He has to be perfect. Even when he's suffering, he has to suffer with 3-point lighting and the perfect camera and the wind blowing through his spiky hair. You know, he can't ugly suffer. He cannot. He can't. And ugly suffering is what you need in order for a character to be fully fleshed out. And because he doesn't, it's like the writers try to make sure that no matter what, even when he's losing, Rick is winning. And I seriously don't like that. I will say that for the first couple of episodes of the latter half of season 4, because they split up the season through the course of like, I think 6 months, the first couple of episodes, Rick actually kind of had a return to form, where he was kind of like the mad genius, but he was kind of screwing up and bumbling a little bit. A couple of examples off the top of my head are the face hugger episode and the vat of acid episode, where Rick made mistakes, and they were legitimate mistakes that ended up putting them in hot water, and in the vat of acid episode, almost literal hot water, in this case fake boiling acid. And it was kind of a means of like showing that, like, you know, even though Rick thinks like 10 steps ahead, he can still kind of mess up if the situation is crazy enough. However, unfortunately, the biggest sins of Rick just being able to like master everything and be God and do no wrong is the heist episode earlier in season 4, and unfortunately the end of the vat of acid episode, where he had everything planned from the very beginning. And it's like, when a character is that in control of a situation, it's boring. It's like the definition of a Mary Sue, when the story bends over backwards to make sure that the character comes out on top with little to no effort. And I'm just not a fan of that. And it's like, you're ruining Rick, okay? We already know he's a super genius. We already know he's 10 steps ahead. Once you hammer the point in too much, like, you disengage the audience, and I just don't appreciate that, personally. Now, the opposite side of this coin, let's talk Jerry Smith. Jerry Smith, I feel, goes through the same problems that Rick does, but in a different way. Though I feel like Rick and Jerry's problems is how the writers are trying to force you to see the character in a certain light, and don't let it happen organically. Jerry's supposed to be a loser. You know, he's inept, he's cowardly, and all that stuff, and I get that. However, a lot of the times I feel like the writers are really trying to push to make him more cowardly than he actually is organically. I understand that he's a loser, but a lot of times there's a lot of points he makes that's correct. There's a lot of conviction that he holds that, even though they might be moronic, you have to admire his stance on them. And a specific instance I can think of is I think it's in season 4, where Rick gives Jerry like anti-gravity shoes for reasons that I can't remember off the top of my head, But of course, and Rick says like, "Oh, you're gonna, ooh, I almost said a bad word. You're gonna screw this up." And Jerry says, "No, I'm not. I'm not gonna screw this up." And Jerry invariably screws it up. And Rick says like, "Okay, let me help you." And then Jerry says, "No, I'm not gonna let you help me, because I'm gonna figure this out myself. So that way, if I fail, Beth will know it's your fault, and if I succeed, I do it on my own." And that I really admire about Jerry. But a lot of the times I feel like the writers are trying to push Jerry to be more of a loser than he actually is. And I find that kind of weird. It's like they sometimes his cowardly choices kind of don't make sense. Like the writer's constantly saying like, "Ooh, we're giving Jerry too much of a spine. We better manufacture a reason for him to be cowardly," and it doesn't come off as him being genuinely cowardly, and I don't appreciate that either. It's kind of funny because when we talk favorite characters, I think ultimately my favorite character in Rick and Morty is probably Morty, because he follows that rule of the character who goes through the most turmoil on screen. He's constantly on the back foot. His things are constantly happening that are like messing up his life, and he's like, oh geez this, oh geez that, and it's just kind of fun to see him kind of go through it. And sometimes he has his own badass moments, and he kind of goes through, and I appreciate that about him. However, I almost like my actual favorite character is Jerry Smith, and I do it almost out of spite. I do it because I know the writers are trying to say, "Don't you hate Jerry? Isn't he such a loser?" And I'm just like, no, he's not. You're trying to force him to be a loser. I understand that he has his cowardly streaks, but he also has conviction. So in a way, he is in a meta sense, he's the character who's going through the most turmoil, because even the writers themselves are against him. And so I have this strong rebellion, like underdog reason to root for Jerry, to basically stick up my middle finger to the man, to the writers, to the people with institutional power. I stand against them. I defy you. I will like Jerry. I will stand Jerry to go against you. It may be shallow a reason for liking Jerry, but I feel like it's on brand because, like I said, in a meta, even though Morty on screen goes through the most turmoil, Jerry meta-wise goes through the most turmoil. So I found that very interesting. So all in all, I do like Rick and Morty. There's a lot to glean from it. There's a lot I like. The characterization of Rick and Jerry sometimes rubs me the wrong way, but I'm willing to stick it out because I want to see where this goes. If anything, I want to see where this goes. And this season 4 finale kind of shows that they're allowing now Jerry to have him to have the dog to have his day, basically. And I appreciate that, and I hope they keep up with it. Even though Rick was abandoned, he still suffered in a sexy cry kind of way. I don't feel like he truly suffered that. I hope they expand on how much he really, screwed up his chances with his family and really kind of dig into him. Because if they do that, then we'll start to see, the vulnerabilities of Rick, and that's what makes a good character, is their vulnerabilities and their successes. You got to have the full spectrum. You can't just do one or the other. Otherwise, you get a Mary Sue or a Sap. And, I seriously don't think anyone likes either one. I mean, there's always exceptions, but like for me, I don't like Mary Sues and I don't like Saps. So stop making Rick a Mary Sue, stop making Jerry a Sap. I guess that's kind of my thing. Other than that, I'm down for Rick and Morty. So with that, I guess I'll go ahead and wrap it up for today. All right, people, you know what to do. If you like what you see and you want to see more, go ahead and tickle the sacred buttons. Like the video, subscribe to channel, hit notification bell so that you will know when I post. In addition, go ahead and share the video because you know that you watch good content. You need to share it with the world and shout it from the mountaintops. And of course, go ahead and comment below. I love hearing what you have to say. Any suggestions you have, any content you might like to see in the future, or if you just want to say howdy do or you're wrong, it's always fun to hear from you. And of course, as per usual, if you want to stalk me elsewhere on the tubes of the nets, go ahead and hit up the intro video in the description box down below. And if you click it, it'll have all of my links that I'll put up here on the screen if you want to type them in manually, so you can check me out on ye olde social media. But with all that said, I thank you for spending this time with me. I hope you all stick around. And until next time, wubba lubba deuces.